Today, Fayetteville, Arkansas is a bustling, thriving city of nearly 75,000 inhabitants. But before it was a town, the hills upon which our city were built were hunting grounds for Native American tribes like the Osage and the Delaware. Early in the 19th century, settlers, many from Tennessee and Kentucky, moved into the area. By 1828, Washington County had been created, with Washington Courthouse as its capital. In 1829, the town was renamed Fayetteville after Fayetteville, Tennessee, hometown of some of the early settlers. For nearly 2 centuries now, Fayetteville has grown and changed. The last 30 years in particular have seen unprecedented growth, almost obliterating signs of the old town. If we look closer, however, signs of the older Fayetteville are still here, right before our eyes. On a small rise at the far southeast edge of town is the gravesite of Revolutionary War veteran and Fayetteville pioneer James Leeper. Leeper and his wife Margaret came to Washington County, Arkansas Territory, in the spring of 1829 with their son Matthew, who had been appointed receiver of the land office by President Andrew Jackson. James Leeper died in 1842, and here, in this out-of-the-way place, time has erased his name from the gravestone. Fortunately, a plaque placed here in 1928 by the Daughters of the American Revolution marks Leeper's gravesite, next to that of his wife. At the corner of 7th Street and South College Avenue stands a monument commemorating Waxhaws, the home of famed Fayetteville resident Archibald Yell. Yell was the second governor of Arkansas and died a hero in the Mexican War. Today, a few blocks south of the monument, a senior center stands near where Yell lived. On a small hill behind the senior center, the stone steps that led up to Waxhaws can still be seen. Waxhaws was demolished around 1970, but Yell's law office was saved and relocated behind Headquarters House on East Dixon Street. In 1867, on the far south side of town at the end of Government Avenue, once called Cemetery Road, the National Cemetery opened as a last resting place for Union soldiers killed in the Civil War. Prior to the Civil War, the rise in the center of the National Cemetery was used for the hanging of criminals, giving the location its now almost forgotten name, Gallows Hill. Behind National Cemetery is another historic graveyard known as Oak Cemetery. Also called Twin Oaks, the African or Colored Cemetery, these grounds are the final resting place for many of Fayetteville's African American citizens. Among those buried here are Horseman Otis Parker, Police Patrolman Lem McPherson, killed in the line of duty in 1928, family matriarch Roberta Carr, and in an unmarked grave, the poet George Ballard. Just south of the intersection of Duncan Avenue and Center Street stands a plaque commemorating the location of William Cushenberry's home. Cushenberry, whose pen name was Bill Cush, was a newspaperman, author, poet, and soldier. He was also an artist, and without his stylized drawings, we would have no visual record of Sophia Sawyer's Fayetteville Female Seminary, nor of Arkansas College, the state's first degree-conferring institution of higher learning. In later years, Confederate General Daniel Harvey Hill, fourth president of the Arkansas Industrial University, renamed the University of Arkansas in 1899, lived in the Cushenberry home. The Arkansas building was originally constructed for the 1904 St. Louis World's Fair. When the fair ended, local entrepreneur A.F. Wolf had the building taken apart and reassembled in Fayetteville by local builder A.M. Burns. Wolfe used the palatial building located on Mock Avenue just beyond the end of Mount Nord Street as his home. It was later used as a fraternity house, but by the 1930s had fallen into disrepair and was razed. On Locust Avenue, between Dixon and Spring Streets, you can still find some of the original tiles from the Arkansas Building. They have been used in a retaining wall on the east side of the street. In continuous use now for almost a century, Wilson Park, Fayetteville's original city park, was first operated privately by civic-minded A.L. Trent. Each spring, Trent filled Trent's Pond, now used as a softball field, for local residents to use for swimming and boating. In the late 1920s, University of Arkansas professor Noah F. Drake led a group of private investors who purchased City Park. This city park company built the first permanent pool at the park, as well as a tourist camp for the new and burgeoning automobile craze then sweeping the nation. In 1945, renowned local author Charles Morrow Wilson sold some 17 acres of land west of the original park, known as Wilson's Pasture, to the city. Wilson stipulated that City Park, now the size we know it, be officially named Mattie Morrow Wilson Memorial Park in honor of his mother. Although Fayetteville is a small town, it has a long and interesting history. Much of that history is no longer around, but next time you're out and about, keep a watchful eye. If you look closely, you just might find traces of Fayetteville history hiding in plain sight.